If you're over 60 and there's a dull pressure sitting behind your eyes right now, the kind that's been there for months, maybe years, the kind no painkiller fully clears, I need you to listen carefully. It is not your screens. It is not your pillow. It is not stress, and it is not aging. It is 5 foods, and 4 of them are probably in your kitchen right now. One of them, the most damaging one, is something 9 out of 10 women your age eat every single morning, believing it is good for them. And I am going to tell you in plain words why your doctor has not warned you about any of this. I am Ayiko Tanaka. For 60 years, I have cared for the women of our mountain village outside Kyoto, the way my grandmother cared for them and her mother before her. Across 5 generations, the women in my family rarely saw this kind of pressure that lingers. We watched hundreds of village women into their 80s and 90s carry clear heads, clear mornings, clear afternoons. They threaded needles at 85. They read the small print on tea tins at 90. The reason is not magic, and it is not luck. The reason sits on the shelves of every grocery store in your country, and the old grandmothers had a saying for it. All disease begins in the belly. The pressure behind your eyes is not a problem of the eyes. It is a fire in the belly, rising up, settling in the small vessels of your face. And here is what your doctor has not told you, not because anyone is hiding it, but because a 15-minute appointment cannot teach what your kitchen can. The pills in the small bottles cover the pain for a few hours. They do not touch the fire underneath. So before I show you the foods, let me show you the mechanism, because once you see it, you will never unsee it. Imagine a small fire smoldering in a hearth. Each food I will name is a log on that fire. Remove the logs and the fire dies down. But here is what almost no one tells women your age, and I want you to hold this thought because we will return to it at the end. After 60, the body cannot fully put out the fire on its own anymore, no matter how perfectly you eat. There is a reason for that, and I will explain it. For now, just hold the question in your mind. Why does food alone stop being enough? We will count down from 5 to 1. Each food builds on the one before it. The 5th food, the master food, is the one I want you to remember most. Number 5 is industrial wheat bread, the soft white loaves wrapped in plastic. The proteins in modern wheat are not the proteins your grandmother's bread carried. They have been bred and bred again, decade after decade, until they irritate the lining of the gut in a way the old grain never did. That irritation rings through the small blood vessels of the face like a fire alarm that will not stop. After 50, the lining of your gut grows thinner each decade, which is why what you tolerated at 30 becomes a daily wound at 65. Researchers in Tokyo followed 1,200 women for 8 years and found that women over 50 were nearly 3 times as likely to feel head symptoms after eating processed wheat. The old grandmothers of our village would only have smiled at this study. We watched it for centuries before any laboratory measured it. Replace 1 loaf this week with sourdough or rice-based bread. Pair the change with a small bowl of warm miso broth in the morning, which helps soothe the gut wall. But the bread is only the beginning, and the next food on this list is the one most women never suspect. Number 4 is fruit yogurt, the small plastic cups your daughter brings, believing she's being gentle with you. The label says strawberry or peach, but inside is 20 grams of sugar and protein structures that have been heated past the point of nourishment. It is not food. It is dessert in a costume. After 50, your body's ability to clear excess sugar from the bloodstream slows by about 30% each decade. The sugar lingers, feeds the fire, and that fire finds its way to the soft tissue behind the eyes. I want to tell you about Eleanor, 73, a retired school teacher from Cedar Rapids. Her granddaughter found me through our village. Eleanor had pressure behind her eyes for nearly 4 years, and she had already done everything right. She walked every morning. She avoided processed food. She cooked from scratch. She had even given up her evening glass of wine, but she ate 1 small yogurt cup every morning, believing it was kind to her bones. We removed it. We replaced it with plain, unsweetened kefir and a spoon of real honey from a local hive. Within 5 weeks, her pressure dropped by perhaps 60%. She wrote to me and said she had forgotten what a clear morning felt like. But here is the part of Eleanor's story that matters most, the part I will return to. The last 30% would not move, no matter how clean she ate, no matter how long she walked. There was a reason for that, and we will get to it. For now, please speak to your doctor before changing anything if you take medication for blood sugar. plain yogurt or kefir, a small spoon of real honey if you wish sweetness, and a handful of soaked walnuts at the side. Pair the change, and the next food becomes twice as easy to face. Number 3 is sweetened coffee creamer. The vanilla and hazelnut and caramel bottles in the refrigerator section, the ones your daughter or your neighbor pours without thinking, they are not creamer. They are industrial seed oils combined with high fructose corn syrup, and the seed oils have been heated and processed until the fats inside are damaged. When damaged fats enter your body, they stick to the walls of small vessels, including the delicate ones behind your eyes. Think of rust forming inside a copper pipe. The water still flows, but slower, with friction. Every sip, every morning, for years. After 50, the small vessels of your face lose elasticity and they cannot afford that friction. My grandmother, 80 years before any laboratory measured this, would skim the surface of her cooking and warn us, do not let the bad fat into the body. She knew. Take your coffee with whole milk if you tolerate dairy, or a splash of fresh oat milk with a pinch of cinnamon for sweetness. But the creamer is only one source of damaged fat in your kitchen. The biggest source is sitting beside your stove, and you are using it every single day. Number 2 is your cooking oil. If the bottle says vegetable oil, canola oil, or soybean oil, please listen, because this one matters more than the others combined. When these oils are heated to frying temperature, the fats break apart and form compounds that travel through your bloodstream and lodge in inflamed tissue. It is like adding fuel to a slow-burning fire in a hearth. The fire does not roar, but it never goes out. By 60, you are carrying the weight of decades of cooking oil in your tissues, year after year, meal after meal. Robert, 68, a retired carpenter from Bozeman, came to our village last spring with his wife. The headache had been with him for 6 years. He had tried 4 different medications. He had tried acupuncture. He had tried a pillow that cost $300. We changed only one thing. The oil, olive oil for low heat, a small amount of grass-fed butter for higher heat. Within 7 weeks, the pressure had reduced by about half. He told his wife, Ayiko-san gave me my afternoons back. But again, his wife wrote me back several months later, and she said something that broke my heart a little. The pressure was better, but it had not gone. There was a stubborn 30 or 40% that refused to lift. She asked me, Ayiko-san, why? After everything we have changed, why does it still glow? And I had to tell her the same thing I had to tell Eleanor's granddaughter. Hold that question. We are almost there. Replace the bottle today. Olive oil, avocado oil, butter, ghee, sesame oil for finishing. Keep the heat medium, never high. Lower heat protects the oil, and the oil protects you. And now we come to the most important food of all. Number 1 is processed deli meat. The pre-sliced ham, turkey, and salami in the plastic packets at the supermarket counter. These meats contain nitrates and nitrites, preservatives that in sensitive bodies cause the small blood vessels to dilate and constrict in rapid succession. This is the very mechanism behind many headaches that sit behind the eyes. Combined with high sodium and damaged proteins, it is a small storm passing through the vessels of your face every time you eat a sandwich. After 50, the body's ability to process nitrates drops sharply. What you tolerated at 30 becomes a daily wound at 65. Researchers from a hospital in Osaka followed 800 women over 6 years and found that women over 50 who ate processed deli meat 3 or more times a week were over 4 times as likely to suffer chronic head pressure. The old grandmothers of our village would have nodded slowly. They cured their meats with salt and thyme in small amounts eaten only on special days, never every afternoon. Frances, 76, a retired librarian from Burlington, had eaten a turkey sandwich every day for lunch for 30 years. 30 years. The pressure behind her eyes had been with her for 9 of those years, and she had never once connected the two. We removed the sandwich. We replaced it with leftover roasted chicken from the night before, fresh sliced, kept in glass. Within 4 weeks, Frances wrote to me, and her words were the same as Eleanor's, the same as Robert's wife. The pressure had dropped by perhaps 60%. She told me she had forgotten what silence in her head sounded like. But the rest of it, the last stubborn 40%, would not move. She asked me, my daughter Ayiko, what is left? I have removed everything. Why does the fire still glow? And this, my dear, is the question I have been holding for you since the beginning of our talk. So please stay with me because the answer is the most important thing I will say in this video, and it is the thing that after 60 years of watching, I now share with every woman who comes to me. When you remove the 5 foods, you stop adding logs to the fire dies down, but it does not die out. There is a reason for that, and the reason is this. After the age of 60, the bacteria that live in your gut, the small living workers that put out the fire from the inside, decline by roughly 50%. Half of them are simply gone. They are not coming back through diet alone, because the diet that fed them was the diet of 50 years ago, with soil and water and ferments your grandmother lived inside of every day of her life. Your modern world does not contain those things anymore. The vegetables come from sterilized soil. The water comes through chlorinated pipes. The ferments come from a factory, not a clay crock on the back porch. So the food you remove stops the new fire. But the old fire keeps glowing because the workers who used to put it out have been quietly disappearing for 2 decades and no one ever told you they were leaving. This is why Eleanor's last 30% would not move. This is why Robert's last 40% would not move. This is why Francis asked me what was left. The old grandmothers of our village had 3 things working together in their bowls every day, and they did not even know to name them. Modern science calls them the seed, the soil, and the fruit. The seed is the bacteria themselves, what is now called probiotic. The soil is the fiber that feeds the bacteria, what is called prebiotic. And the fruit is what the bacteria produce when they are healthy, the small healing compounds called postbiotics. All 3 must be present working together or none of them work at all. Most pills sold at the pharmacy carry only the seed. They give you bacteria with no soil to grow in and no fruit to show for it. It is like throwing seeds onto concrete. Nothing takes root and nothing grows. I spent 4 years searching for something I could give the women of our village that carried all 3. I tried fermented foods and the women loved them, but the strains were inconsistent. I tried capsules and the older women in our village quietly threw them away because they could not swallow them. I tried powders, which clumped in tea. What I finally landed on after testing many things is called BoochBod. It is a small kombucha gummy, not a pill, which matters more than you would think when your throat is no longer 25 years old. It carries a strain called lactospore, a postbiotic compound called postbiotics LM1004, and dandelion root, which the old grandmothers in our village steeped every spring for the digestion. Seed, soil, and fruit in one small thing the body can actually take. Over 30,000 people are using it now. And when I gave it to Eleanor, her last 30% lifted in 6 weeks. When Robert's wife added it to his oil change, his last 40% finally moved and his afternoons came back fully. When Frances tried it, the pressure she had carried for 9 years became a memory she only barely remembered. Please speak to your doctor before starting any supplement, especially if you take medication. The link is in the description below this video. The makers of BoochBod offer 60 days to feel the difference, and if you do not, they refund every penny, no questions asked. I want you to know I would not put my name beside something that did not stand behind its work. 60 days is enough time for the bacteria to settle, for the soil to do its work, for the fruit to begin to show. If you feel nothing, you have lost nothing. If you feel what Eleanor felt, what Frances felt, what so many women in our village have felt, then you will have your mornings back. The link is below. It is the only place I trust. If this teaching has helped you, the subscribe button takes a moment and it lets me reach more women your age who are quietly carrying this same weight. That is all I will ask of you. Let me lock the 5 foods in for you, my dear. Number 5 was industrial wheat bread, which inflames the gut lining. Number 4 was sweetened fruit yogurt, which feeds inflammation through hidden sugars. Number 3 was sweetened coffee creamer, which damages the small vessels of the face. Number 2 was industrial seed oils, which carry damaged fats into your tissue year after year. Number 1 was processed deli meat, which sets off small storms in the vessels behind your eyes. Remove these and you stop the new fire. Add the seed, the soil, and the fruit, and the old fire finally goes out. You are not too old. At 70, at 75, at 80, the body still knows how to heal. I have watched women begin this work in their late 70s and write to me a year later saying they had forgotten what a clear morning felt like, that they had thought this was simply what aging was. It is not. What you are protecting is the steadiness of your hands as you fold the laundry on Sunday afternoon, What you are protecting is the long telephone call with your sister on Wednesday evenings, the one where you both laugh until your cheeks hurt. What you are protecting is the crossword you use to finish before lunch, the walk to see the neighbor's grandchildren after school, the quiet hour reading by the window before sleep. These are the small treasures the headache has been quietly stealing for years, and you do not have to keep paying that price. The persimmons are still drying on the porch. The morning is yours, my daughter. The link is below whenever you are ready. Walk gently.